use entirely. This bill goes a long way toward better control. Thank you.
Next proponent, please.
Yes, good morning, Chairman Murphy, members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Jim Smith here on behalf of the Montana Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Let me begin by thanking Senator Esmond, Larson, and Vincent for their work on this bill. And also, I'm very appreciative that Representative Sands was here and that she made her opening comments. The objectives of the Interim Committee on Children and Families dovetail very nicely with the objectives of the Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. So I'm not going to repeat everything she said, but we worked very closely with the Interim Committee for the last year or so. And that committee, as well as the subcommittee that Senator Esmond chaired, was very receptive to all the inputs they received from law enforcement agencies, and many of those provisions are wrapped into this bill. As I said earlier at another committee, we kind of hitched our wagon to House Bill 68 at the outset of the session, and of course since then it's been a long and winding road, but here we are today with what I think is a good bill that puts a regulatory system in place that you can have confidence in. Just for your information, I managed to get the bill draft LC 2204 out to all the sheriffs late Wednesday night. We had a conference call last night. I invited all sheriffs in the state to participate in that call. 12 or 11 of the 17 members of the board were able to dial in, and we had a good discussion about SB 423. And I'm here supporting it on their behalf. And like always, you know, some questions came up, and I don't need to spend a lot of time, but just out of respect to the people I work for, you know, they ask about this courier system. I forget what section it's in, but you know, a courier, anytime they're making a delivery, they're supposed to call the local law enforcement agency, and we kind of wondered how that's going to work out in the real world. The protocol set up between the healthcare facility and the law enforcement is kind of interesting, where product is supposed to be delivered for safekeeping or storage to the sheriff's office or the local law enforcement agency. But the hotline came up, how's that going to work exactly? But I think all those things can be worked out over time in practice and with real life experience out in the field. The one thing I would say is, you know, technology and all the things that have happened here in the last 10 years has really put people in touch with your deliberations in these processes. I mean, the level of engagement, so to speak, between the legislature and the citizenry, I think is better than it's ever been, and kind of led me to think last night, I think our democratic system is alive and well here in the state of Montana. But this has been a lot of work. I mean, in some respects, it's kind of like plate tectonics, getting these bills into shape and dealing with the concepts and proposals that you've been presented with. But I think it's coming together. And what I think is most attractive to law enforcement and who I work for is that this provides some immediate guidance and clarification and direction for them. And I know there's a lot of linkage and coordination and other contingencies. You got House Bill 161, there's House Bill 175. However all that works out over time, if you move forward with this bill, the law enforcement agencies will have some clear guidance and direction now, and that's what they came into the session seeking and looking for. And maybe I just conclude with a quote that's stuck in my mind for the last couple of years, and I think Senator Jent said this sometime during the 2009 session. You know, I don't know if you remember or not, but he was talking about the business that you're in, this business of being in the legislature, and he referred to it as the solemn process of making law. And that quote has remained in my mind ever since then. I guess what I saw at the subcommittee level was that very thing, the solemn process of making law. When I saw these members go through an 83-page bill, line by line, page by page, section by section, almost word by word, I thought that is the solemn process of making law. And it's what I've seen here in the Judiciary Committee over the years, and in a larger sense, the Montana legislature, I think, engages in the solemn process of making law, and SB 423, I think, is a good outcome of that very important process. Thank you.